Alright, next on the agenda. Maybe I should have a drink first. So yeah, maybe I just don't bang on the table too much. The connection will still stay stable. So next is Neon Naroshi. We had and a couple of indie games I checked out. We've got Power Wash Sim 2, about the same as Power Wash Sim 2. Just, telling a story, while you're washing things. The developers added in like segmented stages, so you actually clean one section. Once you clean up that bit, the tool or the object you're cleaning up gets bigger, and then it gets bigger and bigger until the joke is told. So it comes in segments, episodes, stages. Segmented stages. You keep the prop rises up, and you have to clean more and more as it rises up and unfolds. You also got an office, and you also got like a floor washer. Like that's a new tool that it have. Basically, it's like a shower cap, but for power washing floors. So instead of like using the spray, where it's like a small area, you got like a big round shower jet that covers like a big circle with energy and whatnot. Like it's just super powerful washing, especially for floors and stuff. You can use it upside down, but that's the only drawback. So yeah, it's actually better for stuff on the floor. But beyond that, it's about as relaxing as you can get. So yeah, just it's coming out end of the year. Should be good. I also tried out a bit of SacriFire. That is a JRPG that's coming out probably next year. It is a 2D style JRPG that actually takes combat elements from games like Valkyrie Profile 2, especially. It even has a soundtrack done by Motoi Sakuraba, who also did Valkyrie Profile 1 and 2. So combat. Let's talk about combat. So enemies move when you do. And you've gotta basically do your attacks, go close to the zone, attack enemies when they're close to you. Otherwise, you can counterattack they're closer to your zone. You gotta, as you move around or you charge up, you get to build up AP. You need AP to do special moves, regular attacks, and whatnot. So it becomes like a whole cat and mouse kind of game where you run or charge, avoid enemy strike zones, and avoid like little red beans. One really cool thing is enemies actually throw projectiles. Time stops, so you can see the projectile coming at you, but they don't move to your direction because time stops. And then you basically just move away or dodge whenever you can, whenever you see them coming your way, or telegraph to your direction, general direction. So again, if you played Valkyrie Profile 2, that's how the combat is, except in a more 2D 16-bit fashion. So looks really cool. I like the dialogue. You basically play like these three characters who are trying to become bishops in this world where they're trying to maintain order and whatnot. So it could be a really long-spanning kind of story. Can't wait for the game to come out, hopefully 2026 or maybe early 2027. We'll see. It looks like a huge undertaking, so if they want to be really good about it, they kind of need to take their time. And last but not least, for the indie side, or maybe more, maybe I'll mention more. Yeah, the small stuff we've got is Denshattack. So this is the train skateboarding game I saw a trailer, Summer Games Fest, I believe. Was it Gamescom? So basically you control a train on the tracks. You gotta jump, do tricks, switch, and then get from point A to point B, get the high score, defeat enemies by going through levels and whatnot, getting the high score and avoiding obstacles. So the train can jump high, they can actually be up in the air and do a ground slam to avoid obstacles in the air. They can do flips while they're in the air. They can change tracks while they're jumping. And then they can do, when they're reaching a turning, they have to actually slow down, brake, and then let go of like the brake button so that they can dash and drift accordingly. So you gotta make sure the meter hits the sweet spot to drift. Yes, trains drifting. It's crazy shit, I know. But yeah, this is had to talk with the developer. He said that this was he was just basically doing a finger boarding, like finger skateboarding, on the table, and figured let's do it for a train. And then they just got around to getting influenced by games like Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future, from Dreamcast and Xbox. Clear inspiration right there, and Tony Hawk and all that. And yeah, doing tricks on the train, using your characters to deliver shit, from going from point A to point B in a third-person perspective. Very colorful, really fun. I like the set pieces, especially the ones where you actually get to be on the Ferris wheel as it travels, as you get through racing this one other character, female, prim proper kind of train conductor. And for some reason, after you go off the rails, you get to be on a short mini game where you're in a rolling Ferris wheel, jumping around, really cool stuff. And in the end of the day, these kind of indie games are what actually drives these kind of blood individuals to do what they can, have a really neat inventive idea and just go for it. I haven't checked out Singapore's Hell Heartbreaker. It's a short little, I mean the demo itself is pretty short, so basically you get to pick between the power-ups. You pick 3 to be your power-ups, and you pick 3 other women to, you know, you have to fight because they're like your exes or women you want to court or want to fight against and whatnot. So they determine the stages you go through, whether it's fire, ice, and whatnot. That's also pretty inventive. Also played No Straight Roads 2 from Metronomic, One House Mayor, and his cousin and everything. That had a really big booth. I mean, it's one of the many games in Shueisha's booth that's opposite Bandai Namco. And that is actually, the stage is pretty short for No Straight Roads Road 2's demo. You get to play as the 3 characters, Mayday, Zook, and the new character Casey. So Mayday fights with guitar, Zook has the drums, and Casey gets to do a surfing thing with a guitar. She actually shoots projectiles, like in the cone arc. And she attacks, her notes come out from a guitar, keyboard, it's ranged. But whenever she gets close to enemies, she holds the attack button, she actually surfs through enemies. So you can do combos riding up to enemies. So the boss I was fighting in this one is called Rama Irama. She is a jazz physicist. She's like an aerobics workout thing. She's got like this muscular dudes named Sprouts who help her out, like her slaves basically. And then whenever you fight her, she devolves to different stages. She becomes like the butterfly kind of prima donna influencer, and then there'll be more bigger enemies like mantises and butterflies, I think. I'm not sure what the hell they are. They're like big plant things. You gotta destroy the coating, and then you gotta destroy the cameras. And on the third phase, she opens up a vlog, and then you can actually see her face popping up as you're trying to hit the enemies and defeat the cameras. So each 3 segments require you to destroy the cameras to defeat Rama. And the third one was pretty funny because she will actually obstruct your view with her face as she's doing her vlog and talking at the cameras. So that is an obstacle in itself. The game is a little janky at the moment. I mean, I land my hits just fine, and dodging is alright, and the attacks are fine and all, but I think it's mostly for the animations, especially when it comes to like, you kill an enemy, they're supposed to fly off, but they don't, and sort of like a bit of a unpolished kind of state. But the game itself has a good concept right there, so hopefully this is an old build that they're showing to, you know, for proof of concept, and then hopefully that's enough to, you know, make Metronomic make a more fleshed out game. If anything, it should not be as janky or as, you know, as put together as the first No Straight Roads. I gave it a pretty okay rating. I was a bit more lenient because, again, it's a small team doing it. Now with Shueisha's money and backing and hiring people and all that, I would expect something that is at least slightly on, maybe not the same level as Hi-Fi Rush, but a few steps down, but you know, that same concept and that polish lab. It can't be as put together as the first game. I'm just gonna say that. So good luck to the Metronomic team. I'm very sure they're going to get awards for, I guess, Level Up, as they're one of the top 40 games in that list of SCA awards titles. Okay, moving on. I also played Phantom Blade Zero. That was a build. It was actually the Year of the Snake trailer gameplay, so I get to play that particular stage in both normal and Hellblade mode, or Hellwalker mode. So normal mode, basically I just go through a bunch of areas, kill guards, climb up a tower, kill the big guy who has a big hammer swing. So I took his weapon after I defeated him using a Juggernaut sword, and then I used a hammer to break the ground to get to where I needed to go, which is actually where all this faceless red string guy group is. I forgot what they call it, Justice Tower or whatnot. So the boss itself, actually, that final boss for that demo is actually like a huge swarm of warriors who actually are in sync with the attack. So whenever you see the climbing and the pirouette and the teamwork thing like in a wuxia film. You get to see the telegraph attack coming at you, whether it's red, something you dodge, or it's white, where you actually get to parry it and do a really cool attack. So parrying and all that is really very flexible and fun. It's like a combination of Bayonetta, the Onimusha game I played, and Devil May Cry, and Ninja Gaiden, all rolled into one Chinese 80s style kung fu fighting title, but with a new mythology thing going on, some fantasy stuff here and there, and pretty badass weapons like a giant sword, twin dagger blades, chakram discuses, hammers, giant axes. You get to switch whatever you want: slow attacks, fast attacks, mid-range attacks. Your world's your oyster for Phantom Blade Zero. So the boss itself, after you whittle it down to like it's almost dead, it gets on the string, and so it gets controlled like a puppet. So whenever it sways back and forth, you gotta basically telegraph the attack when to actually parry or when to dodge. So that's a really fun stuff. And whenever it goes back, it will start shooting red crimson beams at you, so you need to actually dodge those. Whenever you see the boss backing backwards, going back and then getting rearing up like red strings attacks, you just gotta dodge everything. So we got some bullet hell moments, got some action parrying moments with the bosses, really cool stuff. Looking forward to that game, and they're gonna announce the release date of Phantom Blade Zero at the end of 2025, either during Game Awards or probably in a separate presentation. Yeah, that should be fun. Alright, what else is on the agenda? So I guess the last few games I want to talk about is, oh yeah, Ananta. I got an invite to play that. So that's the NetEase game. Oh, and of course Marvel Tokon. I got an invite. Thanks Arc System Works. I get to play a bit of that title. It's they introduced Ghost Rider and Spider-Man. I wrote a preview on that. So basically, just to sum it up, really awesome fighting game. It's more of a 1v1 that evolves to a tag fighter as you keep fighting, so you can use your assists to come in. So as someone who plays Street Fighter and Grand Blue Fantasy a lot, Fantasy Versus a lot, I prefer a 1v1 kind of situation and then get some assists in the meantime. Whereas others who prefer Marvel vs. Capcom, they'll also enjoy this too, but in a more different, segmented, evolving, building up meter kind of way. So it's a new kind of tag team game where you don't necessarily need tag team knowledge, but you know, it helps. Definitely, especially if you're multi-talented with different characters. But if you're okay with just one character and suck at the rest, that's fine too. So I played as Spider-Man and Ghost Rider. Spider-Man is your all-rounder kind of character who has a parry and a counter in the form of Spider Swing. He does a pose, and then if you hit him during the pose, he does a counter. You've got the Web Swing, which is a unique attack that every character has a different version of. You can shoot a web, zip line to wherever he needs to go, and then do a follow-up attack, or just escape. And you've got web bomb shooters, you got like a back kick and whatnot. Really nice bunch of attacks you can go through. But I actually prefer Ghost Rider. So he's got a pretty interesting mechanic where he's got a rev meter at the bottom. So whenever he does all of his specials that can chain or basically just have better damage and mid-range potential for combos, the rev meter goes higher and higher. When he reaches red, past the red, he will actually be in a recovery stance after a special attack, after that meter goes high, which means he's prone to getting comboed or getting killed. So you actually need to lower the ref while you're fighting by using his unique attack or landing any of his supers and ultimates. Easier said than done, of course. But I guess that's what's really cool about Ghost Rider, because you can actually switch between your specials that combo, and you can have tag opportunities, or go back to your uniques, which is a good spinning chain attack, but the recovery is pretty slow and punishable. Definitely punishable. He is a good mid-range to long-range character. Really enjoy the flow and how he combos. Sponsored drink. But at the same time, he is going to get blown up by much faster characters, like Miss Marvel, who has a better zoning tool in the footsie tool in a sense. But Ghost Rider should know when to poke and have the flames coming out. I think that's one of his really cool attacks, is down any attack, where he summons hellfire from any part of the screen, far, mid, or close, so you can actually do some keep away bullshit with him while making sure the rev meter is fine. So he can be a zoner in a sense, but he's more like mid-range character with some combos, especially as like what's that? His 2-1-2-1-2-1-4 attack, the quarter circle back. He does a little spinning thing that can combo from any attack. It's like a nice combo ender, then you tag it and whatnot. So all in all, yeah, good potential characters. I hope there's actually a nice announcement either end of TGS or maybe later on in the months or so, because we need to hear about new Marvel characters, especially grapplers. I kind of want to play grapplers in this game. Next up, we have... Oh yeah, I was going to talk about Ananta. That is the GTA game that had the trailers and stuff being shown. That is actually I played a lot of that. I played the story and the exploration mode. Story mode, I just go through the motions of playing the main character who has, I guess, this tech organic thing that actually pulls enemies in, like Spider-Man spiderweb, and also fights like a Sleeping Dog character or an Arkham Asylum Batman style fight, where you get to fight enemies back and forth as they come in, and then when you see them flashing, having the circle beep thing, you do the parry, and you do a really cool parry thing, whether you're in an environment or in the middle of the arena. Really cool parries and shit. And then you get into a chase sequence in a car, picked up by a police cat woman thing. So it's kind of like GTA, except they replace the Latinas with cat women and anime girls. Yeah, so you're actually in the car, you gotta be gunning, shooting like how you're in a drive-by and whatnot. And then there'll be segments where you're using your tech organic web to grapple onto enemies while they're driving off. And that segment reminds me of the Madagascar segment in Uncharted 4. So if anything, but the exploration, all that, yeah, even when you're swinging around as a main character, the way you swing is kind of like Marvel's Spider-Man, like down to the pose and down to the wire. It's crazy, honestly, how they're getting away with it. But it feels good. It feels like a fun game to play. I like the shooting, I like the combat, and I like the exploration with the other different characters. You get to play as two other cat girls. One is a delivery girl. You gotta do like some fun delivery thing, beat up enemies, and then you drive around to deliver a vampire to an occult group, and then they have fun, party and stuff. And you play as a cop girl, rookie cop who has telekinesis powers, can drive around and stuff, and also book enemies and whatnot, or perps if she finds them guilty. The ability to arrest anyone as an officer. Who wouldn't want that, right? So if anything, it's a fun game. I kind of like the concept, and the fact that it's free to play. It's gonna be, if it's a free to play GTA clone, people are gonna get around that. But I think this game has one big enemy, which is Sony Interactive Entertainment's lawyers. Whenever they see the animations and the segments and the chase sequences for that, especially with the bits I mentioned, with the Spider-Man stuff and the Uncharted stuff, they have grounds to sue. So NetEase, Naked Rain developers, you need to start tweaking things here and there. So just make sure that it's not too similar. Legally distinct, that is the key word here. Make it legally distinct so that your game can come out on its own, be this hybrid of things people love, and then be a fun action game out of it that's open world and free to play. So they're gonna go for the model where it's not pay to win. So we'll see how that goes. Not buy characters. It's gonna be like, maybe, I'm guessing, cosmetics. So you can dress your main character as a clown or beach wear and shit. That should be alright. And last but not least is Adventures of Elliot, Millennium Tales. That was a really fun 2D Zelda title. I think they showed off a bit of the demo, and then you got a dungeon you go through where you need to have lily pads showing up so that you can cross all the way to the end, which is a giant fish boss. It throws out a bunch of like whirlpools, whirlwinds, and blue projectiles, which Elliot can block. So Elliot can teleport to where his ferry is, or he can switch powers and do a wind dash. If he hits any obstacle, he gets stunned for a bit, but generally it's meant to actually cross gaps faster, and then you gotta press the ferry power button so that he stops. So other than that, he's got swords, he's got bombs, he's got arrows. So whenever the boss does his vortex attack, you gotta throw a grenade or a bomb into its mouth so it sucks it, explodes, gets stunned, and then that's when you attack and go for the kill. So later phases of the boss, enables him to shoot whirlwind, so you gotta throw the bomb away from the whirlwind and into straight to his mouth. Otherwise, it's gonna be troublesome. You get sucked in and you get damaged heavily. It's crazy. So it's a really tough boss, but I managed to get through it just fine. Just out of pure luck. So Adventures of Elliot controls great. It's a quaint Zelda game made by Square Enix and the Octopath Traveler sprite makers and developers. It's got its own charm and quirk with music, mostly from Yasunori Nishiki, I think. This guy who did Octopath Traveler 2's 1 and 2's music probably is making music for Adventures of Elliot. So this game is coming out in 2026. There's no concrete release month yet, but I'm guessing middle or end of the year. I think they're trying to build up this game to be more, I mean, it's a Zelda clone, but it's a good kind of 2D Zelda clone, especially when Nintendo's not doing more 3D Zelda games and 2D games. So it's good that Square Enix is picking up the slack in that regard, especially for something that is, there's money put into this sprite work and the graphics and the action. And that is it for me for all the games I've played. I think you can see all that coming out in the website, some write-ups here and there. Otherwise, it's all gonna be here in this one grab bag video. So thanks for watching. I think I'm just gonna take more photos and whatnot. That is my recap of Tokyo Game Show. This showing is very, very, I think people are like a bit depressed about the games being, not selling as they should this year, especially with Nintendo Switch 2 not being as the gangbusters kind of console that it is. But nonetheless, the show floor I was in was really fun. Really nice booths and really nice presentations and whatnot. Managed to see some old friends here and there. Bump into some faces here and there. Really, really cool. Good job, all the publishers and whatnot doing that. Made some new contacts here and there. I mean, that's why I'm there, though. It's work. But generally, I don't want to bore with all the work stuff. But generally, the games I played, really awesome stuff. I wish I had time to play more. Maybe I can try it on the public days. We'll see how it goes. If there's anything more that I want to check out, I will tell on another video. But for now, this is what you get. Really cool stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to see more stuff like this from me, especially on the road and whatnot, do check us out on youtube.com, Kakachopuri's website and everything. Like and subscribe. It's coming out at the bottom here, right? And see ya next time. Bye bye.